My name is Zed Zha. I'm a family physician in rural Washington state. I am also a nonfiction writer. So writing is part of my everyday work now. On the surface, the story is about eating an ice cream. But really, it happens at a pivotal moment of my life where my parents are transitioning from my caretakers to being taken care of by me. Part of the story involves how my mother stole me out of a hospital when I was a baby, before I was about to be adopted out. And so that feels to me like my origin story. I feel is worth telling to the world. Anybody who's been a mother or has a mother, which is everyone, should know how heroic mothers can be. And I've always wanted to tell the story. It's January 2020, and I am a brand new attending doctor, driving my brand new secondhand SUV down the highway toward my brand new house in eastern Washington state. In the passenger seat sits my brand new husband, whom I've had for 5 years. In the back seat sit my parents, whom I just picked up from the Seattle airport. They're sound asleep, my car is quiet, except for their peaceful breathing and my racing heartbeat. My parents have just arrived from China to visit me. In the past 12 years I've been in the United States, we've only seen each other a handful of times. And this time, looking through the backup mirror, my parents look a lot older than last time I saw them. My mom's hair is thinning, so she's wearing a perm to hide it. And the lines on my dad's forehead are carved a lot deeper than last time I saw him. And I am consumed by guilt. You see, in the Chinese culture, out of all the virtues, being good to your parents comes first. And I had not been a good daughter. I am their only child and left home when I was 20 to pursue a medical career on the other side of the world, draining all of their savings along the way. But this time, things are different. I'm no longer that starving medical student or resident, and I have a plan to make it up for my parents. At my house, I prepared a whole fridge of foods they've never tried before. I bought them new sheets, a new comforter, a new rice cooker, and this time actually brand new, not secondhand. And with this plan comes this declaration. I am the product of my parents' hard work and sacrifice, and I am worth it. But more importantly, from now on, I will be taking care of them. And what's the first step to my master plan? Stopping at Baskin-Robbins for ice cream. I glanced at the GPS. We're only a minute away from the exact store I picked out. My palms are starting to get sweaty, my heart rate is elevating, and I'm starting to hyperventilate. By the time I see that big Baskin-Robbins logo, I fully met sepsis criteria. I turn sharply into the parking lot and slam into a parking spot right outside the store. Then I turn to the back seat and say, "Mom, Dad, want some ice cream?" Then I see the look on my mom's face. Like a reflex, I close my eyes and clench my teeth like I'm getting ready for a slap in the face. "No, we do not want ice cream," my mom says. And I feel myself sinking into the seat, deflating into a small child. Now, before you think the story is brought to you by Baskin-Robbins, let me just take you back 32 years ago, the day when I was born. The doctor who delivered me misdiagnosed me with brain damage at birth. And my mother, who didn't even finish middle school, didn't understand what that meant. "That means she'll be stupid," the doctor explained to her. In the one-child policy era in China, the only child was not just child, but also the hopes and dreams of the entire family. And mine was about to get crushed. The doctors recommended I be put up for adoption, and my mother tried to protest, but it was her words against the patriarchy. So a few weeks after giving birth, my mother found herself standing in front of a lockdown adoption facility where her baby girl was kept among other brain-damaged kids, waiting to be taken away. Now, if what happens next were to be made into a kung fu movie, my mother would be played by the Oscar-winning Michelle Yeoh, and it's gonna look like this. She arrives after dark in front of the evil castle, aka the hospital, dressed all in black. Then like a bird, she flies up from the ground, tapping her toes a few times along the walls as she ascends and lands inside the evil castle without making a single sound. Then she takes out her sword and fights her way through the villains, aka the doctors, and makes her way to her baby girl. But the reality was a lot less pretty. Just a few weeks postpartum, my mother was probably still bleeding from her womb. And now, she's bleeding from her heart too. Because after climbing over the walls of the hospital, she discovered the room where they kept me was locked, so she couldn't get in to steal me out. But according to my mother, among all the babies in the adoption unit, I was the only one who cried when I heard her footsteps. So the next morning, my mother returned to the hospital by herself and signed me out against medical advice. In my imagination, after signing those papers, when she threw that pen back at the doctors, it sounded exactly like a sword pushed back to its scabbard. My mother told everyone I was not stupid because stupid babies couldn't recognize their mother's footsteps. But no one believed her. Instead, people gossiped. She'll never be able to understand mathematics. She won't make it to college. And she can't take care of her parents. And that is how I ended up at age 15 on the back seat of my mother's secondhand bicycle, weekend after weekend. My mother is pedaling fast and furious to take me to the weekend private classes of physics, chemistry, and mathematics. The gritty metal seat of the bike makes the ride really uncomfortable, so I hug my mom's waist tightly for stability. Everything looks gray in Beijing due to air pollution, except for the Baskin-Robbins we pass by every week. The big pink circle with the number 31 in it is like the only color I see. Not knowing how to pronounce Baskin-Robbins, my mother and I called it the American 31 flavor ice cream. And this is when she makes her empty promise to me every single weekend. Okay, honey, one day we'll stop by for ice cream, okay? 3 scoops, whatever flavor you like, I promise. But the private weekend classes are expensive. Before I can even enter the classrooms, I hand over a stash of cash to the teachers. And this is how I know, at the end of the week, we do not have any money left for ice cream. Plus, other than chocolate and vanilla, how many more ice cream flavors can there really be? Now, fast forward 18 years, back in Washington State. My mother is now sitting at the back of my secondhand SUV, rejecting my offer to take us to have the ice cream of our dreams, ruining the very first step to my master plan. If I let her defeat me now, what's going to happen when we get home? Maybe she won't let me take care of her. Then all of our hard work trying to prove those gossips wrong, and all of the years we spent apart, and all the monies I drained would totally be wasted. I can't let that happen. But luckily for everyone, I've been to the morning market with my mother in China enough times. I know exactly how to bargain with the Chinese woman without arguing. So I turn to her and I say, okay, whatever, suit yourself, I want some ice cream. So I hop off the car and I start walking to the ice cream shop by myself. Then behind me, I hear my dad's footsteps shuffling. Then my mother sighs and she comes off the car and slams the door. Inside the ice cream shop, there is a young girl with a bored teenager look on her face. Hello, I would like to get 3 scoops of ice cream in a cone, please. I've never actually been to a Baskin-Robbins, but I need to act like I come here all the time. Okay, what kind of cone, she says. Oh, that bigger one? Okay, waffle cone then, what flavors? Flavors, okay, it's gonna be chocolate, vanilla, and that one over there. Then my dad comes in, and right away he leans forward to study all the different chocolate flavors there were. Then my mother comes in, and her mouth just drops open. Then she starts to count the flavors. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, don't let my mother catch you having fewer flavors than you advertised, because she will be asking you for a discount, okay? 22, 23, 24. And her eyes get wider as the numbers grow. Then she looks over to my dad, who looks like he might fall into the ice cream buckets if he got any closer to them. My mother makes this hissing sound whenever she's displeased, and it sounds weirdly dismissive, like this. So she turns to my dad and says, and that translates into, stop acting like you want ice cream. Then she turns to me and says, 这些也太贵了吧，你会不会省点钱？有那些钱去别的地方买整顿饭就可以了。不要，不要，坚决不要。And as she gets more and more passionate about scolding me, her voice gets louder. She scolds me for my terrible habit of wasting money because with that kind of money, I could have gone somewhere else and gotten a whole meal. And how dare I, a 32-year-old professional woman, a doctor, spend $10 on ice cream to make her mother happy? Now imagine if you were the poor ice cream girl in the shop. 1 minute, your biggest problem was boredom. Then comes in this Asian woman with a big perm. Then she starts to hiss and yell and terrorize all these other Asian people in your store. So she turns over to Matthew for help, my husband, who's the only other non-Chinese person in the room. And Matthew gestures, don't look at me, I don't know what's going on. So suddenly, the room becomes quiet, and everyone turns to look at me. It feels like there are beams of light coming out of everybody's eyes, and they form this single cone of spotlight that lands perfectly on me. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not the hero in this kung fu movie. And no matter how much I'm bleeding inside, I need to act like I'm effortless on the outside. So I roll up my sleeves, and I speak to the ice cream girl. Okay, we take some chocolate almonds, world-class chocolate and peanut butter in a dipped waffle cone for him. For her, we get some cotton candy, nutty coconut, winter white chocolate, also in a dipped waffle cone, please and thank you. And under my rapid fire, the ice cream girl blinks herself awake and says, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Any toppings? I'm glad you asked. We'll take some sprinkles, M&Ms, gummy worms, and girl, if you have some sunshine and rainbow and unicorn eyelashes, I will take some of those too. I need you to make these 2 ice creams look ridiculous. Okay? Okay. And let me tell you, she does not disappoint me. In a few minutes, she turns around and hands over these 2 giant dipped cone ice creams with the whole world balanced on them, shouldering endless possibilities. By the time I'm done paying for these 2 ice creams, half of my deathbed chocolate's already gone. Then I hear my mother whisper behind me, wow, American 31 flavor ice cream. So I turn to look at her, and she's taking a selfie with the ice cream. Taking a selfie with the ice cream like a tourist in front of the Statue of Liberty. Thank you.